Newfie usually makes really great keyboards. I have purchased quite a bit from them myself already and probably will continue to do so. With all the new designs that they offer and all the different switch types, I feel like it's kind of really hard not to find something from them that you do like. But even with all the great design features and all of the great tech specs that the Kick 75 offers, I feel like the whole thing that's surrounding the Kick 75 was only made for a handful of people. Let's talk about why. If you're new here, my name is Gabriel and I create videos on home studio tech to help you build and upgrade your setups with gear that I actually use. If that sounds like you, make sure that you get subscribed and don't forget to like this video if you end up enjoying the content. Before we get started, quick disclosure that I do normally work with Newfie and this keyboard was supposed to be sent to me prior to launch. There were some logistical issues though that caused me to miss the launch, and that's why I didn't post this back when it did launch. And then between now and then, I actually got really busy with some other things outside of YouTube, mainly cycling, but I did end up purchasing the low profile option myself so that I could make this video and check out the keyboard for myself. Newfie did send to me though the high profile conversion kit along with a wrist rest that they also sell along with this keyboard, so that was sent to me from them. I just want to make sure that you guys knew, and at the same time I will be leaving a discount code down in the description in case you guys want to take a few percentages off when you guys decide to buy this. But make sure that you guys watch the video first before you make that decision. One thing you do have to like about Newfie is that the design of their keyboards is slightly different. They have a lot of different options that you can choose from, and I actually prefer their designs of the keyboards over other keyboard brands out there that are a little bit more monotone. The Fresh Design offers does offer something different that looks great, which is one of the reasons why I will still pick them up and still use one of their keyboards as a regular usage on my weekly lineup. The Kick 75 is honestly no different. You still have that classic Newfie branding with the soft white and light gray keycaps with some accent colors. These color choices are what really launched the whole brand back when they were first launching their Halo series of keyboards. With this Kick keyboard, there's a lot more details that usually are not added to the other lineups. The main reason is to drive an aesthetic of an older keyboard that embodies the years between the 80s and the 90s. Reading through all of their design process on their website, you can really start to see the design inspiration from the Air Force One shoes, with the bottom layer of this keyboard resembling the soles of those shoes. There's also a lot of pixel art on this keyboard with pops of red and pops of blue color, which to me remind me of the transparent Game Boys, really that were all transparent back then. I didn't really get to live through that period where I was buying all the transparent tech, but I do remember having a Game Boy Advance that was transparent, which then eventually got replaced by a Game Boy Advance SP that ended up being all metal. Transparent devices are making a comeback now in 2025, and I think they will continue to do so in 2026. I don't know whether that's because of nostalgia or it's just another trend that's cycling back again, but we do get to relive all of those trends again now. Aside from the design, most of the specs here for the Kick 75 are pretty normal, pretty standard for all keyboards now. You have hot swap PCB, south-facing LEDs, and it does come fully assembled with PC-mounted stabilizers, which is really important to note for later on in the video. It still has Bluetooth 5.0 with up to 4 devices, USB dongle, 1000 Hz polling rate, and the battery is actually pretty different on the Kick 75 if you go with the Newfie IO version. And I do want to say that you have to choose at purchase of this keyboard whether you want Newfie IO or VIA compatibility. The VIA compatibility is an extra $20. I don't like this decision because it's an added cost for a feature that's already free on a lot of other keyboards out there, especially custom keyboards. And it also comes for free on their V2 Halo series of keyboards. Can you do all the same things in Newfie IO that you probably would be able to do in VIA? Yeah, is it probably a little bit easier because it's more user-friendly? Yeah, definitely. You don't have to mess with any JSON files, but I still think that a feature that's free on custom keyboards being charged an extra $20 is just not a good look. The battery life claim for the Newfie IO version is insane. It's a 2500 milliamp hour battery, but it can take you up to 360 hours. That's with the backlights off, but either way, I haven't seen something that's advertised that high. I won't be testing it myself for the validity of this claim since I mainly use my keyboards wired here at my desk, but maybe one of you guys can. For those that don't want to do the quick math, the 360 is just about 9 weeks of usage if you have it on for 8 hours out of the day, 5 days a week, just as you would for a normal daytime job. It's crazy for a keyboard like this to last that long, and since I don't usually see it with these, the only comparison I have is my MX keyboard that I have at work. It is the original MX keys, and I use it for 3 days out of the week when I'm in the office, about 8 hours a day, and I get anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of battery on that. But that is much thinner, it's not mechanical, and it's also going to have that like auto on off for the backlight. Whereas here, you can choose to always have it off, and you will get up to that 360 hours of battery with the Nufii IO version. All of the specs are great once you have this keyboard set up to the height and the switch options that you want, but really the in-between is what brings me to the biggest problem with the Kick 75. The change and the setup was actually the most difficult and the biggest struggle I have had with keyboards, even though I've built a lot of custom keyboards before. Usually pre-built keyboards are less of a struggle to deal with, but with this one, you have the rotary knob, you have the battery, you have a daughter board. There was just a lot of short connectors to watch out for when taking it apart. Usually I recommend that you take the motherboard out of the keyboards because it's easier to install the switches that way, and it honestly limits the probability of you damaging a switch socket. But with the Kick 75, it was really difficult to remove the motherboard out of the keyboard case. It's also a lot more hands-on for someone that's a beginner, and the pamphlet that comes with the keyboard and the YouTube tutorial from Nufii themselves aren't really that easy to follow. I think Nufii could have done a little bit more in-depth tutorial here for people that are buying this keyboard, only because I know that this is actually meant to be for beginners who want to try out different profile options. It's difficult to explain how stabilizers should be only via 2 pictures in a pamphlet, or when you go to the YouTube tutorial, it's actually a super short showcase of only a couple seconds swapping them out. This guy here gets it. The keyboard is being marketed as a keyboard that gets you to decide between a low profile and a high profile keyboard. You can change it as you please, you can buy all the extra kits to change it, but nowhere does it mention that you actually need new switches and possibly new keycaps, if you care about that, to go from one profile to the next profile option. You can use the low profile keycaps on a high profile, so really the keycaps are a little bit optional, but the switches, they're definitely not an optional choice. I even scrolled down to the FAQs on their website to see if they would mention it, but the only thing you have to consider here is that you will always have to get the swapping kit if you want to change the height of the keyboard. No mention of switches. So when you go and add the conversion kit, you do get an important notice, but it's only to make sure you're choosing the right one. Still no mention of switches. All the switches are listed as extras and not really essentials to go along with a conversion kit. Aside from the switches, you really have to think, how many times are you actually going to be going back and forth between a high profile option and a low profile option? If it takes me about 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, if I want to switch to high profiles, how long do you think it would take someone that doesn't really build keyboards regularly? And once you find the profile that you like, why would you ever go back? It honestly reminds me of a Canyon bike that I just bought. It's the one back there. It has like these handlebars that you can either extend out or bring in to have different width options. But realistically, no one's ever really switching back and forth. Everyone's just going to choose the one that they prefer and then stay that way. So could you have just bought a single option? Yes, you probably could have. Right there, you just can try different ones, but at what cost? And that brings me why I think the height adjustable option is just a gimmick for this keyboard. The profiles aren't going to be swapped that often, especially for someone that's new. I did the math of even buying the low profile option that I had and then buying a high profile conversion kit and buying new switches. And I kind of excluded the keycaps here, but the total came out to $185 plus $25 of shipping through Nufii.com. That's $210 for the Nufii IO version and $230 if you go with the VIA version, still without keycaps. It's probably closer to $300 or $250 if you end up deciding buying new keycaps. And by the way, they actually don't sell the high profile keycaps for this keyboard. I had to gut my Halo 96 V2 to still keep this aesthetic. And do you know what else you can get for that price? 2 keyboards, one high profile, one low profile option. And if you already like the Nufii aesthetic and design like I do, You can even go out and get 2 of the Newfie ones. The low profile of the Kick is already available on Amazon since it took me so long to get this review out, and you can either go with a Halo or a Halo HE for the high profile option. It would be $240 for both and free shipping, and you can change back and forth between them as you like. Maybe I'm crazy, but you could even get a high and low profile for the price of the upgrade kit plus the switches. It would only be $15 more, and you have a whole second keyboard with the right amount of switches and the keycaps that you do need. So why would you get this keyboard? Well, it's like with all the keyboards out there. Really what is separating Newfie or this Kick 75 is going to be the design. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, once you know what profile you like, it's easy to just buy one keyboard and not go with the whole upgrade the profile option between low and high. The Newfie IO version is actually pretty inexpensive considering the price point of other keyboards out there that have more unique designs. And the build quality from Newfie has always been great for me. I've actually never had any problems with their keyboards. You still have the gasket mounted design here, which is one of my favorites, and you do get all the foams, which can add to the sound to make it sound a little bit better. It's not going to be echoey, and the stabilizers that come with the keyboards actually aren't bad at all. The price to features for one of these keyboards is miles ahead of what you can get more in the custom market. A good comparison for me for a retro inspired transparent design would be a Bauer Light, and that comes in at $120 for the keyboard kit, which means you still need to buy keycaps, stabilizers, and switches. Oh, and it's also not wireless. Some people will hate me for even making that comparison, but to people that just want a keyboard that works out of the box and aren't into the design of the Bauer or aren't really into building keyboards as a hobby, this is always a good option. In a world where all the tech categories are basically already at their top specs, keyboards aren't really that different. Most keyboards in the $100 to $150 range will offer the same features and really only differ in the design. The hobby is really still about finding something that you like with feel, sound, and really the way the keyboard looks. More expensive doesn't always equal better. I have a thermal from RamaWorks that I ended up hating the mounting style, so now it just sits in a box in a closet. Whereas this Newfie Kick 75 has become one of my favorites, and therefore I still use it throughout the week. Especially because it is Bluetooth, it's easier for me to use with other computers and swap back and forth between my work and my personal one. I did have to gut my Halo 96 like I mentioned for the keycaps, so Newfie, if you're watching this video, please offer the aesthetic of your keyboard keycap options for both low profile and high profile. If you are looking for alternatives because this design just doesn't work for you, there are plenty out there to choose from. If you want to go with a more low profile options, you can go with Newfie, Lofree, or Keychron. All 3 of them will have the same customizable software that you can use with hot swappable switches and also interchangeable keycaps. They also have more offerings that are wireless as well, with higher polling rates and also USB dongles for those that want to maintain a high polling rate, or if you just have a computer that doesn't have Bluetooth, which is something that I actually learned when having to build a PC and knowing that motherboards are still made without Bluetooth. For the high profile options, there's still those 3 brands of the top ones that you can choose from for this price range, but for a stretch, IQNIX has some pretty cool designs that you can also choose from. For the lower end, I recommend brands like Applemaker or Unzi. I have tried a couple of their offerings under $100 and they actually work really well and sound pretty well as well. Similar to Newfie and Keychron, they are using their own customization software, which works well as an alternative to VIA. I do give them a little bit more of a pass because they are under $100. I'll leave some of the links in the description to ones I recommend, including that discount code for Newfie if you end up deciding to go with the Kick 75. I'll also leave a link to my latest review video of the Applemaker keyboard that was actually only $35. Let me know that in the comments as well. What profile is your profile preferred option for keyboards? I feel like I'm always going to be in the high profile option. Keyboards that are in the low profile, you'll even notice I always use the Air 75 because I haven't really purchased other ones because I just can't find one that I really like. So I'm always going to be on team high profile. Let me know down in the comments, what team are you on? And as always, thank you for watching. Click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will catch you in the next one.